Air. Every Overlander needs it, obviously, everyone needs it, but I'm specifically talking about air in your tires. It's a great idea to air down and air up your tires as the trails and the terrain that you're on change. Now, I've talked about airing down on this channel before, and every single time I mention airing down, I always get at least one person that comments that they drive everywhere at 40 psi, they've never needed to air down, and they've never had a problem. Why would you do that to yourself? Sure, you don't need to air down, but it makes the ride so much more comfortable. Even if I'm just going to be spending most of the day on a gravel road, I don't need to air down, but I'll do it to make the ride softer. I can't imagine taking a gravel or washboard road at 40 psi. Now, if I end up on something more technical or I'm doing something that's muddy or sandy, then I'll air down a little bit more because it really does help with the traction. I see a lot of comments asking exactly what tire pressure you should go to, and it really does depend on the tires you've got. If you've got very close to street tires, then you probably don't want to go down very much, but if you've got good, large, all-terrain tires, you can go down a little bit more. Fine, if you've got huge mud terrain tires with bead locks, well then you can go way down to just a few psi. Now, typically with my all-terrain tires, or 33-inch all-terrain tires, I go down to around 20 psi if I'm just going to be on a rough road and I just want to have a more comfortable ride. If I am going to be doing something a little more technical, then I'll go down to about 15 or slightly below, and if I'm going somewhere sandy, then I'll try and push it down to around 12. But typically I don't want to go too much less than that, because then I do run the risk of the tire coming off the wheel or the tire coming off the bead of the wheel, and I don't really want that to happen. Having a tool in your kit to air down the tires isn't strictly essential, because you could just use a key or some other pokey thing and it will get the air out of the tires, but it will take you an incredibly long time to do so. So I'm going to show you a couple of tools that make the process a lot quicker and a lot easier. The first option you have is the one that I personally have, and that is this, a rapid air deflator. Now, you can buy these from several companies. They all look slightly different. Some of them come with a digital gauge versus the analog gauge on this one, but they all use this end to remove the valve core from the valve stem, and that just lets the air out really, really quickly. The other option you have is the automatic deflator, and with those you just screw them into the valve stem and you just leave them for a few minutes, and I'll put links to both in the description. In terms of performance, the rapid air deflator is much quicker per tire, so you can air down in about 30 to 40 seconds per tire, depending on what you're starting at, what you're airing down to, where the automatic deflators take about 4 or 5 minutes to completely air down. But of course, with this one, you have to go around and you have to individually do each tire, where the automatic deflators, you get a kit of 4 of them, you just screw them all in at once and you just leave them. So effectively, they take the same amount of time overall. The automatic deflators are great because you can leave them unsupervised. Once they're screwed in, they do what they need to do. So you go make a sandwich or take your Instagram shots. The disadvantage, though, with those automatic deflators is you have to calibrate them beforehand. So you set the pressure that they're going to go down to, and you can't customize them each time. And that is the reason I went with this one, because I like to change what pressure I go to depending on the trail that I'm on, the terrain that I'm on, and it's a lot easier with this one. I do know some people that use the automatic ones just to go down, and they set them to about 20, and then they'll customize and go lower than that if they want to. But ultimately that ends up taking a lot more time than just using the rapid deflators. But of course, it's all personal preference. You pick whichever one works for you. Once you're done with the trails, you're going to want to inflate the tires. You do not want to drive long distances on low tire pressures. It's not safe and you'll wear the tires out a lot quicker. And that's where I believe that a tool is necessary. Now, you do have several options, and I'll just talk about a couple of the most common. The first option is a CO2 tank. Now, this has pressurized carbon dioxide in a tank in your vehicle ready to inflate the tires. These are incredibly quick, and because they don't have any kind of mechanical moving parts, they're also really reliable. The downside is they are kind of expensive. Now, I personally don't have one, and I wouldn't get one for myself just because I don't trust myself to refill the tank when I need it. Instead, I use an electric compressor. Now, you have a ton of options ranging in price and speed, but two of the best known brands are going to be ARB and Revere. Whatever you ultimately go for, make sure you don't get one of those like AAA or Walmart ones that plug into the cigarette lighter in the vehicle. They will be far too slow and you'll be there for years. You want one that hooks directly to the battery. It'll be much quicker. I personally have the Revere 88P, and it's a good budget option. It's still quick. It hooks up directly to the battery. You got it screwing into each of the tires. It takes about, I'd say, 3 minutes per tire to go from 15 to 35 psi, so it's not going to win any races, but you're not going to be there all day. At around $65, I'd say this is probably the best value air compressor that you can buy. Time is money though, so if you're willing to spend more for something that's a lot faster, it's worth checking out the Revere 400p or something in the ARB series. The ARB compressors are generally regarded as some of the best compressors available. Of course, what you could do is combine both the systems together, so you could have the air compressor and a tank mounted in your vehicle and have the compressor pressurize the tank. That way you always have instant, fast air available to inflate your tires. Anyway, that's enough for now. This was just supposed to be a few quick tips, and this video has probably gone on a lot longer than I intended. If you found this video useful, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if there's anything you're interested in getting, using the links in the description helps me out too. Thanks for watching.